Welcome back to Digital Wandering, and I have here my Pixel 2. And in the previous video, I failed to get Ubuntu Touch on this device, and I said that I would try to find a use for it, and I have a use for it now. It's now running CalyxOS, which is a de-Googled version of Android, and hopefully I'm going to describe this in correct terms. So feel free to correct me at any point in the comment section. My videos are unscripted. This is the way I am most comfortable doing my videos. So there occasionally can be mistakes. So please build in the conversation. But any mistakes are just not because it's careless, but because I'm being very casual here, because this is the way I like to do my videos. This is a casual conversation about this. I am just a basic user. Of all the devices that you see on here, I'm a basic user. This is not a real disclaimer, but I just want to give you greater information about my background. I'm a guy who loves tech and using tech, but I'm not a high-level power user. And I'm very curious to try a lot of different things. So this is something that I want to try right now. And it's been a couple of days, and I have to say that I'm very much impressed by this operating system. It is extremely daily driver ready and very polished. So I would definitely want to use this going forward. Now on the Pixel 2, it's probably not the best device to use this on, but it's the device that I have. You can install this on Pixel devices, but you probably wanted to pick a Pixel device that is still supported by Google, because this operating system works in the same. It works in the same 3-year window that Google works with when they release a device. So once Google stops supporting a device, CalyxOS also stops supporting that device on the OS level. So it is in tandem with Google's support window on an individual device. So this device, the Pixel 2, Google support ended in late 2020. It's a 2017 device. So if you're going to use CalyxOS, you probably want to get a device that is released after that. Like the Pixel 3a, which was released in 2019, that might be something that you would be more inclined to use it, CalyxOS with. And hopefully I'm going to pronounce that name of that operating system correctly throughout this video. CalyxOS, I think that's the correct pronunciation of it. But I just want to go over how this operating system looks and feels, and what I think of it so far in these last few days. So this is a de-Googled version of Android, and I probably will do another video on the installation of this. This just talking about the problems that I encountered when I was installing this, so that may help someone in the future if they choose to do so, install this on one of their devices. It supports Pixel devices, and I think it also supports at least one Xiaomi phone. And I'll post a link to the CalyxOS website in the description, along with any other links that I think are relevant. Okay, so this is what it looks like from the main screen here, the home screen. And this is one of their default wallpapers. So I haven't actually added any of my own wallpapers yet. And it's basically stock at this point. I did make some alterations on like the apps that are on the home screen. And most of the apps that I have here were already pre-installed, although I have installed some apps myself. And we'll go through all that. So what we have here on my main apps that I have here, we have the camera app, which is excellent. I believe this is just the standard Google camera app, I believe. So you still have that same app experience that you normally would have on a Google phone. We have DuckDuckGo, which is basically the default search engine here, and it powers also the search here on the home screen. We have an email app that I have here, a weather app. Let's just look at that. This is the default weather app that came with the installation of the OS. So you just can see how that looks. This weather app is a little different here. It said something that was kind of unusual. At one point when I opened this app, it had a message there which said that because I don't have an account with this app, and it said that you have a limited tokens, I think is how it referred to it, in utilizing the app. And to increase the number of tokens, you have to actually create an account. So I'm not really sure, how many tokens that I have without an account, or if that would be a problem. Like if I open this up too many times, then it'll say, okay, well, you know what, you don't have an account, and you create an account if you want to continue to use it. One of the so that's a very weird. I've never seen anything like that on a weather app, on a default weather app that you have on the system. So that was a little strange. The main app store, I guess you could say here on this device, is going to be this right here, the F-Droid store. And the apps that you get here, these are on the F-Droid store. The apps that are located here are all free and open source. And I think it's a really excellent selection of apps. Many of the apps that you see here front and center, some of them are already pre-installed on this operating system. But you have a decent selection of apps here. Now, the selection of apps and the number of apps that you have here is not going to be the same experience that you would get on one of the major app stores. And the major app stores that I'm referring to are like iOS or the Google Play Store that you would get on a full Android device. But the selection is good. It has multiple categories, and the number of available apps within the categories provide you with some options. Now, now if you are someone who has utilized alternate OSs, and that would be something like Ubuntu Touch, even Windows Phone, or like the default app store on like the Fire OS devices, like on the Fire tablets. If you used apps that were or app stores that, although it has a number of apps, they don't have everything in there. There's some key major apps that are missing. If you're used to that type of experience and that doesn't bother you, then something like this store, it will just be perfectly fine for you. You know, if you're happy using one of those alternate app stores and you don't really feel a need to have a full one of the larger app stores like I referred to earlier, this will be just fine. So yeah, I've been having fun. All the apps that I've downloaded from the F-Droid store, and there's an interesting selection there, and it meets most of the stuff I see here will meet most of my needs. Now one thing that's different for me and some of the viewers here is that I'm not using this as my main phone. One thing, it doesn't have a SIM card in here. I'm using it just strictly on Wi-Fi. So this is basically a hobby phone for me, or it's not even really a secondary phone. So my needs, it doesn't really take a lot to meet my needs with here on this particular device. So just using the F-Droid store and the open source apps that are available there really is fine for me. Now for you, you may have greater needs. If you're trying to use this as your main phone as your daily driver. So you may have a different experience, whether this meets your needs or not. Now, one thing, when you're installing CalyxOS. It does give you the option of adding support for Google Play services if needed. So you do have some ways to get devices that require or apps that require Google Play services on this device. And we'll get into that as we're going along here. And that's one of the advantages here. So you can just use these free open source apps. But if you do need apps that require Google Play services, there are ways to get those apps on here. So that's what really makes this a very strong option for daily driver material, because you do have a lot of options here, and it's very strong and very polished. So let's just go into the full app drawer here, so we can see all the apps that are on this machine. And again, most of these are apps that were pre-installed, and I'll go over the ones that I installed myself. So what we have first on here is the Aurora store. And the Aurora store, and let me see if I can describe this in the correct way. What this does, it allows you to download full Android apps. So the Aurora store is like an open source alternative to Google's Play Store. So you can download full Android apps, and as you see here, the presentation here really looks like the Play Store, and you see the apps that you have available here. So this gives you an option. Okay, like there's Google Translate. I couldn't find a translator app through the F-Droid store that was still working. There was one app that was there, but apparently hasn't been supported since like 2016. There are a few, one thing I do want to mention, there are a few in the F-Droid store, there are a few apps that are old that are in there. So you do want to check the app to see if it will function, or some of the apps that haven't been supported in a long time will still function today. But there are a few that, although you can download them, they are not really functional in 2021. So you do have options here with the Aurora store to download some major apps. And you can see here, you see Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So you do have a lot of different options here to download. Netflix is here, so you can download, if you need be, full Android apps. And let's just get out of there right now. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be downloading many full Android apps on here. Again, since this is a hobby phone for me, I think I'm just going to stay with mostly the free and open source apps. But I mean, that's your own personal decision what apps you want to use on the platform that you're using. Another app I have here is Barinsta. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Right next to the Aurora store. And that is a third-party Instagram app. I was really excited when I downloaded the app because it looks like it's designed that you do have the option to anonymously search Instagram. But apparently, Instagram right now is the security on Instagram is very strict at this point. So if you do try to navigate Instagram anonymously, at some point you'll be locked out, and it won't allow you to do anything in the app on Instagram. You won't be able to pull up pages. You won't be able to pull up profiles. You won't be able to search. You won't be able to do anything. So in order to gain that function, you're going to have to sign into an account. Instagram right now is very strict. If you actually utilize Instagram in any way that Instagram deems to be unusual, it will lock you out. So that's not just on that app, that's on everywhere. It's on desktop. It's probably using the Instagram app itself. So I'm not really sure why the security has become so strict on that app, while even doing things like liking too many photos, could cause you to be barred. I've heard of people being barred for making comments that were too making the same repeated comment multiple times. So anything they determine as the actions of a bot, or potentially the actions of a bot, can cause you to have your account locked. But it even affects anonymous users. It's becoming much more strict. So if you're going to utilize it, you probably want to have an account that you can sign into, just so you can have any functionality utilizing that app. We have next to it, we have Briar, which is a messaging app. I haven't used that. A lot of the alternative messaging apps that you have available on these type of systems, they're kind of tough because you have to know someone else that's utilizing these apps in order to get the full, even to utilize them in any capacity. And I just don't really know anybody that utilizes a lot of these alternative apps. So it's a little difficult. So some of these alternative messaging apps I'm not going to be using at all. I just wish I knew people who were utilizing a lot of these alternatives. One of the things that really encouraged me to have the channel is that I like to talk about tech. I don't really know anyone that's interested in tech in any real way. So having the channel gives me an option to talk about a lot of these things and share my experiences. Okay, so we have the calculator, calendar. Calyx also has its own VPN, a free VPN here. This is pre-installed. Just to go back here, Barinsta is something that I installed myself from the F-Droid store. So that was something that wasn't pre-installed. Of all the stuff that we've seen so far that I talked about, that was the first one that I have installed myself. Everything else that we looked at so far has been pre-installed. So we have the camera that we've already shown. Chromium, there's a Chromium web browser app here. I've tried it out a little bit. It's really nice. I have clock, contacts. What is this here? Oh, conversations. I haven't set this up yet. It looks like another messaging app. So they have a number of messaging apps here that are pre-installed. This one, I'm not really sure what this is. This is pre-installed as well. Let's see, here we have DuckDuckGo, we showed that. F-Droid, we saw that. A file manager. This is also pre-installed here, a firewall. Provides, it looks like protection for the apps that are installed here on your device. And the gallery right here, the first one here, this is a pre-installed gallery app. I don't have anything on here just right now. This is one I installed from the F-Droid store. This is also available. I like this gallery app. I use it often. It's available in the full Android store. It's one of my favorite gallery apps. So when I saw it here, I added it. Although the pre-installed gallery app looks like it's just fine. Qwant. This is a browser that I added myself. Downloaded this from the F-Droid store. I think DuckDuckGo was the default browser on here, but I updated it to Qwant. So there's that. K9 Mail, this is their default email, and I do have this on my home screen. Yeah, I do. And that's their location. This is a map app. I believe this is pre-installed. I haven't really set it up yet. We have another messaging app that was pre-installed. We have microG. Now, microG, from my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Now, what happens when you're using Android apps? Right now, many Android apps require certain components that are found within Google services. So even certain third-party apps require Google services to operate correctly. And from my understanding, what microG does is that it it mirrors those same, it spoofs, I guess, it spoofs those Google services. So it allows apps that require Google services to work. You can do that without having Google services installed in your operating system by using microG. That's my understanding of it. I believe that's correct. Please correct me in the comments if that is incorrect. This is a PDF reader that we have here. Music. NewPipe. Now, NewPipe is a third-party YouTube app. Works just nice. This is one of the apps. Now, there's a user on YouTube called Techlore, and he's made many videos on CalyxOS, and I actually watched a few of his videos before I actually installed it. So yeah, you want to check out his videos there. You won't be able to avoid his videos if you look up CalyxOS on YouTube. They're going to be some of the first videos that come up, and they're excellent to watch to learn more about the operating system. So there are still, I only watched a few videos before actually installing it, and came across a couple of websites. I actually heard about this operating system long before I actually had this Pixel phone. So at the time, it was just because I was interested in the subject, interested in tech, that I watched it. It wasn't until later that I actually got these Pixel phones that I was actually able to utilize that information. So he has a video where he was talking about the best open source apps from the F-Droid store, and this is one of the ones he mentioned. At that time, I already had a third-party YouTube app that I downloaded myself from the F-Droid store, and we'll get to that eventually. There's a lot of pre-installed, so this is one I downloaded myself based on Techlore's recommendation, and it seems pretty good. We have this here. This was pre-installed. Look at this here. I haven't set it up yet. Your app for measuring internet censorship. So that seems pretty interesting. A lot of apps here are based on security and keeping your data safe. So you see that coming up multiple times here. Looks like this is like a password manager here. We have Orbot, I guess you can say. I think it's like it's basically like a Tor VPN. It uses as a Tor network. We have another app that was pre-installed. I'm trying to remember to tell you which ones I downloaded myself and which were pre-installed. This is one of the pre-installed map apps that we have here. Really nice. Oh, it's asking me to download for Barcelona province. Maybe we'll do that another time. Okay, so where are we here? Okay, we have the phone app here. Again, I don't have a SIM card in here, so I probably won't be using that ever. We have a voice recorder app. This is another VPN, Rise Up, that was pre-installed. So we have a couple of pre-installed VPNs here. Now this one, Scramble, this will remove metadata from your photos. So you have that. This is a pre-installed app. This is a search app that I installed myself from the F-Droid store. This is using Searx, Searx. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of this search engine, but this is another search engine that is devoted to privacy, not sharing your information with advertisers. So there was an app in the F-Droid store for that, and I have that here. Got settings, Signal, that was pre-installed. SkyTube, now this is the other third-party YouTube app that I downloaded myself from the F-Droid store before I followed Techlore's recommendation. It seems just fine, really nice. So I have two YouTube apps here, third-party apps. We have Tasks, which is I think a note app. Tor browser. Well, let's just open it up. Let's look at, so notes and write down tasks and things. So So it might be more like a to-do list app as opposed to just a pure notes app. Then we have the Tor browser. So another browser. So there's a few browsers that are pre-installed, browsers and search engines. So we have the DuckDuckGo app, we have Tor. And that might be at the DuckDuckGo, oh, Chromium, I forgot about that. So the browsers and search engines that are pre-installed, Chromium, DuckDuckGo, and the Tor browser. This is another Techlore recommendation to download from F-Droid. This is like a public transportation app, although not all of the different public transportation options are listed here. It depends on what region and country you're located in, whether you'll have a listing here. So it's just an option here. I always like to have apps for travel purposes on my smartphone, so that is one when you're traveling that may come in handy. There's the weather app that we looked at previously, and another app here, I'm not really sure. Okay, this is an Authenticator App. This is also pre-installed. Okay, so these are the apps that are available here. I think they cover a lot of categories. I think a lot of the apps are very well designed and extremely usable. And you do have the option of adding additional apps from the F-Droid store, the Aurora store. So yeah, I just really am impressed with utilizing this device on a basic user level right now. And I do think the additional layers of security and protection for your personal information definitely make it worth it. And I think this is going to be one of the secondary or third phones that I'm going to be using a lot going forward. And something that's very much capable of being a daily driver. But yeah, this has been a really nice experience, and I'm very happy that I've been able to do it. So there's a silver lining in the fact that I wasn't able to get Ubuntu Touch on this device, that I was able to try this alternate operating system, which I would not have been able to try if I was successful getting Ubuntu Touch on here, because I didn't have any other phone capable of trying CalyxOS. So yeah, educate yourself as much as possible. This video is not going to be the end all here. I mean, there's going to be other videos that give you more information about, especially what's happening technically here. I morally go on from a user's perspective, just using a device as an everyday, as I use them. So that's the contribution that I'm making here. But yeah, I'm going to add some links in the description, and I will also try another video here where I will talk about some of the issues that I had in installing this. So yeah, it's great on the Pixel 2. It may be even better, especially from a security perspective, on a newer Pixel device. But yeah, I just wanted to share this with you. It's great experience so far, and who knows, I might do future videos beyond the video about the installation going forward. But I do want to thank you very much for watching. This is Digital Wandering signing off.